Rightio, welcome everybody. My name is Terry Dillon, the CEO and co-founder of CLUBMAP. I'll be co-presenting tonight with one of the other co-founders, which is Chris Connolly, who many should know Chris, and we've got John Nuts that is, most of you should know John as well. Tonight's topic is actually, before I kick into tonight's topic, I want to acknowledge our partners, the Australian Sports Foundation and Active Queenslanders Industry Alliance. Tonight's topic is how to drive participation. Hopefully we'll give you some really good gold nuggets tonight. Very broad topic. There's no doubt there's some sports that are in decline and some that are in incline. And I always use the one example of pickleball. If anyone follows pickleball, the growth of pickleball is just through the roof around the country. Obviously, with participation, a lot of our sports, their national bodies and the state bodies are very strong in driving participation. It's nearly one of their key KPIs that their various sports need to drive. And typically it is linked to funding through the various funding bodies that are associated with it. So I suppose there's one thing to have growth. There's another thing having the capacity to manage that growth. And that's what we're finding with a lot of our sports is that there's some, like particularly football, being soccer, even golf and pickleball, as I mentioned, but the growth and the capacity to manage that participation, particularly when you're dealing with volunteers, it's placing significant demands on those people. So hopefully get some good tips from us tonight. We do spend 2 to 3 minutes at the end to promote a service that we use to support our clubs Australia-wide. Now that is, we try and find a grant for that, so we'll walk through that. So hopefully you can bear with us at the end of the session. So we'll kick into the next slide. So just for those that are newcomers, a little bit of background on us. We've worked with lots and lots of clubs one-on-one. We've probably had 20,000 plus people tuning into our webinars over the last so many years. We work with all different sports, and obviously we've worked with a lot of governing bodies around the country, and that includes councils. So I know there's a number of state bodies and national bodies tuning in tonight. So, this will be a bit for everyone tonight. So,
hi everyone, thanks for checking out the webinar recording. Before we dive into it, just while you're watching, if you think that your club could use some help with your sponsorships, other revenue streams, more volunteers, planning, even a bespoke committee structure like what we discussed in webinar 1 a couple of weeks ago, we'd love to help. Our workshops can have a huge impact on your club and the broader community. We know it's tough for clubs with funds at the moment, and we want to make it as easy as possible for clubs to work with us. We'll help you find and apply for a grant to fund our workshops at no cost to your club. There are a number of local and state grants open now, in late February, early March 2025. All the links are in the description. Get in touch with the grants team or shoot us a good old email, info@clubmap.com.au. Thanks again. Back to the webinar.
Part one is the challenges of participation Australia-wide. Part 2 is building the capacity, creating participation. Part 3, Chris Connolly is going to go through the coaching aspect, the importance of the right coaches. Obviously that applies to sport, and how to stand out and in terms of getting the right appointments. And part 4 will finish with grants and how CLUBMAP can help various clubs around the country. Obviously the number one challenge for sport, and our role is to identify the pain points and the opportunities specifically with participation, and there are lots. Clearinghouse for Sport, they've made this, there's a public statement which I think is pretty fair on what's happening around the country, and their statement is this: a strong and growing participation and membership base is critically important to sporting organisations in terms of attracting investment and ensuring sustainability. And now, there's no doubt the stronger the numbers, the greater the opportunity you have with funding, whether it be for facilities or extra support or programs. So participation is number one stated challenge for sports across the country. There's no doubt, some sports want more people to play part, but there's some that are really struggling, that the demand is exceeding the supply. And we talked about, the pickleball example, and again, there's a lot of pressure on that sport to get the facilities up, up to speed to match the demand. And it's placing what we find, and for most sports, is the greatest challenge is the sport is placing the pressure on the various state bodies to grow numbers. But a lot of our sports are driving participation, about 90%, and the rest is on 10% on capacity and improvement. But we believe that's a bit of an imbalance. You can have great numbers and growth, but the volunteers, and 99% of the groups that we work with are volunteer-driven organisations, and they're trying to manage the capacity and the club development, and it really is quite a concerning imbalance. So tonight is very much about identifying some tips that can help you with getting the balance in a better state.
This is another great quote that we found on Clearinghouse for Sport. Ongoing participation in sport is usually contingent upon satisfaction with the overall service provided. This has implications for the standard and accessibility of facilities, as well as the capacity of a sporting organisation to provide coaching, officiating, and management support. This just highlights the importance of what we're covering tonight. Often participation is a byproduct of the club's overall capacity and quality of their off-field, off-pitch, off-court, whatever sport or activity you're involved with. There is a real misunderstanding about participation growth. It shouldn't be a focus or an individual target in isolation. It's an outcome of getting everything else right. You can't just paper over cracks with new programs or formats of your sport. This might help in the short term, a bit of a sugar kick, but for sustainable regular growth, it needs capacity through the right structure, as Tina mentioned before, more volunteers, strong governance, and then growth and improvement through social or supporter membership growth, infrastructure and facilities, quality coaching, good internal culture. All of these we'll touch on tonight. Build capacity and you'll create participation. So this is part 2 of tonight. Build it right and they will come approach, not just with facilities, as we've touched on in a few other webinars, the club as a whole, build that right. Clubs with capacity become magnets for participants. If a club is on its knees, financially struggling, held together by a couple of burned out individuals, badly outdated facilities, older equipment, and the wrong people in senior coaching roles or coaching roles, players, members, parents, they can sense that pretty quickly. Chances are they might find somewhere else to go. The opposite is true, though. If you're a strong, financially secure, sustainable, viable organisation with plenty of helpers, great facilities, great coaches, your participants will stick around and word will spread. That culture will grow from there.
If you've got some participation elements to your structure, identify them on your committee structure. If you're looking at new initiatives about revenue or facilities or whatever your core business is, this is the key. We've got a resources hub for those that are new that is amazingly powerful. There's 100 odd videos, there's 200 odd templates, there's position descriptions. This is an avatar-based education platform, but if you can get a good structure, that will then lead to potentially better governance. That will potentially lead to a greater capacity to service. It goes back to that slide that I said is the magic wand. It's about bringing all these pieces of the puzzle together.
The first thing is I want to pass on is that every sport is different and every club is different. So even 2 cricket clubs over the road from one another are going to have different challenges when it comes to appointing a coach and creating a good coaching environment. It's pretty obvious. If you've got a good environment where people can improve to the best of their ability as a sports person, or they're going to come, or if parents can see that that's the best environment for their child, not just to maximize their ability in sport, but to maximize their ability as a person, well, they're going to come to your club. Terry often says the 2 most important people at your club are the president and the head coach. And the reason he says that is because these 2 people have the biggest influence in the club on behaviours. Now, the president off the field, the head coach on the competing arena, they'll have the biggest influence because everyone talks about club culture, but to simplify it and make it real, club culture is about behaviours. How you behave in the playing environment, how you behave off the field, that's your club culture. When we're looking at a coach, we've really got to get the right person for your club. So it's really important to understand the type of coach you want. Do you want a coach that recruits players? Do you want a coach that develops players? Do you want a coach that wins? Do you want a coach that galvanizes a group? Do you want a coach that motivates? Do you want a playing coach? Once you've worked out the type of coach you want, you can then set about putting a good job description together. Now, the job description is really important. All things even, we've got a clear job description and we're going to put that out to people who think they can fill this job description. So, of course, to shortlist, to interview. Look, you guys are so busy. but you've got to put effort into this. You've got to put effort into getting the right coach, because if you don't, you're going to have big problems moving forward. And if you do, it's going to get rid of a lot of problems that could have reared their head. Obviously, the president and coach aren't the only two in the club that are driving behaviours, but they're the two that can have the biggest influence. Obviously, the coach needs assistance that can help, just as the president needs an executive committee that's on the same page. They have to have an ever-present part in the atmosphere. And, you know, when a problem arises, yes, we're going to make the right decision as we see fit, and that kind of stands out. But it's really a thing that needs to be ongoing, and in the end, it ends up the backbone of your whole club.
Just finally, we wanted to share some ways to share and promote your club and make sure you can stand out within the broader community. Obviously, there's also often clubs have competition with other clubs, sports, activities, and interests. Once you have the capacity, you can then make your club stand out. You know, a professional online presence, we discussed this in the previous webinar, is vital. Participate in community events, be present at them, you know, whether they're council-run community events or whatever it might be. Be present, show off what your club can do. You want to be present and participate in community events. Thanks for watching our webinar recording. The full cut is in the resources hub right now, along with a heap of other educational videos, tips, info pages, examples, templates on how to set up and run a successful sponsorship program at your club. There's also videos, info and templates on a range of other topics, from volunteers to committee structure, finances, governance, and some new online fundraisers and revenue streams that you can implement. It's available for everyone at your club, or just $49 for 12 months for one account. Check out hub.clubmap.com.au for more information or to buy online. And as always, we'd love to have a chat about your club and how we can help out. Use the QR code, or all the links are in the description as well. Tuning in live if you can is always better. Means you can hang around for some Q&A and have a chat about the topic with us at the end. clubmap.com.au to save your spot. We'll see you then.